Welcome, travelers. Today I want to take a moment to address the Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro drama that's been going on for the last year. So our channel has been offline for the last 12 months, and I have been asked for my thoughts and views on what's going on at every convention that we've gone to. So we haven't really had a platform to talk about it, but it's really close to our projects and mission statement because we're dealing primarily in the RPG space right now, and we do have a 5e book called Creatures and Fairy Tale and Myth. And the very first stirrings that something was going to go wrong in a series of misadventures for Hasbro and Wizards was the OGL Scandal earlier this year, where they were looking at the open gaming license in the system's reference document that many third-party publishers use to create outstanding Dungeons & Dragons content. And this has been something that has ebbed and flowed since 3rd edition. 3rd edition was incredible. It was to the point where I think other RPGs were suffering with how many publishers were jumping on the OGL in 3rd edition. 4th edition kind of simmered down, and 5th edition things really fired up again. But I think it struck a really nice balance between third-party RPGs and worlds and creations and stuff using the SRD and OGL to be able to create more content for Dungeons & Dragons. Unfortunately, their very first step was to be extremely greedy. And so the OGL had clauses that would be completely unacceptable to pretty much myself, our publishing company, and many of our peers in the industry. We were ready to pull the plug on Creatures of Fairy Tale and Myth if this OGL was going to continue. And there was a huge backlash by the industry and the fans. The fans realized exactly what this was going to mean for Dungeons & Dragons, for role-playing games in general. And I'm really happy to see that the community stood up against Wizards of the Coast. They ended up putting out a statement which was very disingenuous, and people called them out on it. And then they were really forced to backpedal and say, no, we're not doing this route at all. Like we're going to cancel this entire new OGL, and we're just going to let things sit as they are. One of the most powerful forces that I saw from the backlash was the unsubscriptions that were done for D&D and Beyond. There's no secret that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are looking to take their game digitally. And in every aspect, they want to do away with books. They want everyone to be on microtransactions. They want to monetize players as much as the Dungeon Master, if not more. The fact that everyone could hit them where it hurt. This was the next platform. This was what was going to replace the, pulp and paper books. At this point, they sent a very clear message that, if you end up treading on what we find sacred in the RPG space, we are going to hit you in the pocketbooks. And so this was right before, I think, one of the quarterly earnings reports, and it just did not bode well for the executives. Unfortunately, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have been on a rampage of bad decisions. And so the next really big thing that hit myself and my friends that play Magic the Gathering was the 30th anniversary complete fiasco, where they were charging, if you can guess, for how much they would charge for 4 booster packs of Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, the original sets, but in gold border. So they're not tournament legal. I think it was like 12 or 15 cards in a booster pack, 4 booster packs. What do you think the price was? Give you a moment. It was $1,000 US, $250 per booster pack for cards you cannot even play legally in sanctioned tournaments. It was a definite money grab. They thought that everyone would pounce on this because they'd get a chance to own the Power 9, Black Lotus, Time Walk, Time Twister, all of those moxes. But in reality, everyone gave them a big proverbial middle finger, as this was probably the least successful set in Magic's history, 30 years. And this is the 30th year anniversary. So this was an opportunity where they could actually bring the community closer together, bring it back to its roots on how Magic started and why it became as popular as it did over the last 30 years. And people will get a taste. So had they priced the booster packs at maybe $5 a booster pack, this probably would have been a home run for them. If they wouldn't have gotten greedy, they would have actually made probably as much as they thought they were going to make, and more had they been reasonable. But of course, again, if you're noticing a trend, the executives were not reasonable. So the third thing that ended up happening, someone was shipped the wrong box of Magic the Gathering, because there were 2 sets that almost had the exact same titles. And it's a very easy mistake for a retailer to make or a distributor to make. They shipped it out to someone who had some pre-orders. This person ended up putting out online as they were cracking the packs, and all of a sudden everyone realized that this was an upcoming set that shouldn't have been released yet. And I don't know how many people of you guys know the Pinkertons, but you can Google them. They're pretty much like the mafia version of private investigators that will come to your house, armed security, and basically intimidate you into compliance. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And that was faux pas number 3 of many more to come. So now we can talk about what has happened ever since Magic 30th. In a bid to try and shore up the revenues, the executives again made a call to overprint every single set that ended up coming out in the last year. And what that has done, along with the fact that they've had a reprint policy of some very valuable cards that they've ended up putting in the list slot, is that they really devalued everyone's collection. And people started realizing that whatever they're holding on to, sealed boxes, decks, even stuff from the reserve list, is not sacred. The company will reprint, and they will erode, someone's collection, the value of their collection, just for short-term gain. And so this is kind of like a scorched earth policy that might generate the company some revenue in the short term, but in the long term, this has really, really damaged the Magic the Gathering brand. I have never seen so many people getting out of Magic the Gathering than the last year. So many people quitting, so many people selling collections. I've even picked up like 4 or 5 full collections from players that are exiting the game. And I took a year off, even from Magic, with my friends. I said, basically, Dominaria United's the last one I'm doing for a year, and we'll see how it goes in a year. And, well, we can continue in terms of what the executives have been up to. So, as you guys probably know, Baldur's Gate 3 was a smashing success. And kudos and hats off to the entire Wizards of the Coast team and the studios that were behind creating the video game, because it was a home run for the IP, for the company. And what did they announce right after the release of Baldur's Gate 3? They announced 1,100 employee layoffs because they need to streamline the business and increase the bottom line. Instead of the executives getting the axe because they have been just basically fouling everything up over the last year, they're actually getting rid of the really talented and good people at the company that are producing all of the stuff that we love as gamers. And it's very unfortunate. I've actually had a couple of people that ended up sending their resumes to Pendelhaven, and we're in discussions with them to be able to bring some of these people on board, because they are very talented, and unfortunately they're not treated well by the company at all. And a little birdie on the inside has actually given me a little bit of insight as to why all of this is happening. And so what they told me was the executives were dangled these really, really sweet bonuses, stock options, salary bonuses, end of year bonuses, if they can actually hit certain marks for revenue. And pretty much the executives, what they've done is they put on their blinders. They really do not care about what damage they're going to do to the Wizards of the Coast brand, Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering. And they're really trying to hit those bonuses as fast and as hard as they can. And unfortunately, what people ask me on the convention circuit is, what's your take on the health of the company and what's going to happen with the company in the next 12 to 24 months? And unfortunately, I've got nothing but bad news to tell them. It's both of these brands are going to be eroded. D&D 6th edition, or whatever they want to call it, D&D 1 or D&D 5.5, is not being received very well by the community. There are things that they're talking about, the evergreen product. This is where I'll probably disagree with some of the stronger voices, where they said it's impossible to have a RPG edition with that'll be evergreen, that you won't need more editions. I think it is possible to do from a game design standpoint. It's possible to do with a proper product roadmap, but it's not easy to do. And so the question is, can they do it with this many staff laid off and with executives that are absolutely clueless as to what they're doing to the brands? So I think there's going to be a bumpy road for another maybe 3 to 4 years of the company really trying to rebuild these brands that they've done irreparable damage to in the last just 24 to 48 months. And so I think we're going to end up seeing probably more layoffs, and things will not course correct until those executives are actually put out the front door and a new slate of executives is put into place. So yeah, I just want to take a moment, about 10 minutes, to talk to you about everything that I've been asked on the road, my thoughts on the state of our industry and some of the biggest players in our industry. And I hope I don't have to do too many more of these videos. I hope they do course correct, and I hope things do get brighter, because with a healthy Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, the collectible card game industry thrives. And same thing with Dungeons & Dragons. If Dungeons & Dragons is doing well, the RPG industry does well. So yeah, hopefully the next video that we talk about the subject is going to be a lot cheerier and rosier, and we'll be able to spread some good news. Until next time, Skål.